everyone, it's Carol here at Collage Journals. Thanks for popping by. I've had a bit of a frustrating afternoon trying to find my prompt pieces for assignment number 34, and these are the pieces that I lifted out originally, and I'm very quickly going to show you what I've lifted out and how I thought this collage was going to come together. But I've changed them out, not entirely, and I think I've come up with something better, and that's the one I'm going to create for you in a moment. But let me very quickly go through these prompts and show you what I was planning to do and why I don't think it works. So very quickly, a place. Well, I have this little cutout image here of some castles and some flags, and I thought that would work. A little bit of a medieval theme to it. Wasn't really happy about the quality of the image that I'd got. It's a bit blurry, but I thought I could work with that. Something that makes a sound in a pattern. Well, crickets make a sound with their chirping noise, and it's pretty regular, so that is a pattern. A portion of a blank form. Well, I've got this customs declaration form. This is one of the old forms that I had lying around, and it is on a backing here, as you can see. It's a sticker. So I've got that. I've also got this one, which is a faux diet form that you would fill out if you're in hospital, saying what you want for your meals during the day, but that's a faux one, as I say. The next one is someone else's handwriting. Well, I had this left over from the wine label that I used in the previous assignment, so I thought I could use that. I also have this. Now, this is a portion of handwriting from an old indenture. Now, an indenture is an old document, property document, that they used to handwrite way back in the day, which dealt with the transfer of land from one person to another. And as I say, they were all written out in hand, pen and ink. Very laborious task, but usually the penmanship on these is stunning. So this is a portion, and it's written on parchment, and this portion was on along the bottom, and each page was bounded in red, or a red line border was drawn or bounded all the way around, and anything that went outside that line wasn't allowed legally on those documents. So I thought I could make use of that as well. Last prompt, or second to last prompt, something inspired by a fairy tale. Well, I went with this rather cheeky chappy here. Not sure if he's an elf or a goblin with ears like this. He's also got a tail and numerous toes on his little feet down there, and I thought he was quite cute, and obviously ties in with the fairy tale theme. So very quickly I'll show you what I thought I would do. So I was going to use that as my background. I then was just going to pop that on there, and whilst it says a portion of a blank form, part of this will be covered up, so that's why I thought that would work. I was going to have my little chap sat there, this down here. I was going to bring this in because the colour tones worked quite well. I was going to have this half on, half off. I was going to use that pink line to ground everything on. So there's my little guy sat on there. My little place, or my little houses, we're going to tuck under his legs, and then bring in this and use it underneath. Once that was in position, I was going to trim off a bit across the bottom there. And also I was going to trim this down there. So this was going to be my main collage, but a little bit shorter here. Then I decided, well, I could make use of that form as well and tuck it in behind. Bring everything down, something like that, and trim off a portion there so that I just had that writing at the top. And then I got to this. Now, I love the tones here, and I was quite happy with everything, but these are green. I've got nothing here that is green that would work. I've got some lovely monotones and a little pop of colour down here. It wasn't going to work. So I then started hunting around in my books, and I thought, well, I can use a bird, because if you get the right sort of bird, then a bird will make a sound in a pattern. They usually have their very distinct calls, don't they? So I thought that that would work. I thought I could fussy cut him and put him up the top there, and that would be my collage. But then I was doing my usual, my diagonal across my piece, and that wasn't working, even if I changed out my cricket for my bird. So I started to think again what I could use, and I've decided to dispense with that and that, but predominantly work with everything else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. I'm going to change out my place for this bookmark. This is a bookmark that I got in Puglia in Italy when I was last on holiday there, which was 4 or 5 years ago. These are Trullis, which is a type of building that are very well known in Italy, round stone buildings. So I'm going to change this out, and I'm going to use one of these images, and I'm going to use this image, and I'll tell you why in a second. And for my little goblin or elf or whatever, I'm going to change him out for this lady. The prompt was something inspired by a fairy tale. Well, I think this lady is beautiful enough to be some fairy princess in a fairy tale. So I'm going to bring her in something like that. A little bit of text down the bottom, text at the top, some down the side there. I'm going to move it over very slightly. Probably will trim this down, bring in my form, and I'm going to turn it sideways and drop it down and have it staggered. Now I am going to reduce it in size so that I am only using a portion, and I will probably cut it off there underneath that declaration word. The reason for that is so that I can pull it over more to my right hand border, and by doing that I can get more of her gorgeous dress in. What else was I going to do? I was going to, yes, I was going to use this. This colour tone is gorgeous because there's dark, almost bluey greys in here, and I want to use that. So I'm going to pop this in here. I will trim it down, but I'm just trying to give you a rough idea of what I'm doing or where I'm going with this one. Trim it down on that side, and I'm going to trim it flush with this writing down there so it will look like that. So I'm picking up a little bit of that grey, I'm picking up the green down here and also here, which means that I can use my cricket. So that's what I'm planning to do with that. This one I wasn't going to use, I don't think. This one I'm not going to use either. I was going to do something else. Oh yes, I know, my place. So with these, I'm going to use one of these images, and I'm going to use them on my blank form down here. If I put them on in turn, obviously bearing in mind that I'm going to be trimming down here, this one I don't think works. It's lovely. The blue is fighting with that blue up there. Love the grey tones, that's perfect. And even the green isn't too bad. Little hints of yellow which are not perfect, but that's quite possible, especially as I've got these beigey tones here which are picking up obviously that, and a little bit in the background there, and obviously here. So that was possible. Then I thought about this one at the bottom. Now I really did like this one, but again the blues are fighting with that up there. The reason I like this one was because there were more of the greys and some red here, which is picking up the red on her dress and her headdress. But the one I'm actually going to go with is this one in the middle. This is softer, so I don't think it's fighting with that. I've got my greys, I've got more beige in this than I have in this one, and there's red without any yellow, and that would work, picking up the greens on here as well. So that's the one I'm going to go with, and then I'm going to bring in my cricket and have it down at the bottom here somewhere. I might actually go in and fussy cut that bird, and because it's hidden behind here, I can get away with doing that if I just move everything across a little. So I think this is looking a much nicer arrangement, and it's prettier. I like it, it's working better for me. And if I wanted to, I could always bring in this, because bearing in mind this is going to be cut across there, I could maybe even bring this in down here if I wanted to. I'm not sure that I will or even need to, but it's a possibility. So I'm going to put these to one side. I am going to trim this, and I'm just going to mark where I want it to go. I may reduce that down in size a little bit as well. Not sure at the moment. So I'm just going to bring in a ruler and a pencil and get started on this one. Lots of chatting going on today, so it's about time I made to start. Trying to give myself a little bit of leeway here in case I do decide to use that bird. So I'm going to trim it down there. Okay, now I was going to trim this one. So I'm going to trim it so I've got a little bit of the white showing. There we go. So I'm going to bring this in again. This is the portion I'm going to use. I don't know if I'm going to use that little bird yet, but I can always cut it out in a second or two. This lady I was going to have up here, and what I'm trying to do here is get a little bit of writing above and below here. I was going to trim that across after the word declaration, but I'm just going to have a quick look at it first. And yep, I do want to do that. Bring this in so that I've got some writing there and some writing there, so you can clearly see that it is a form. Wondering whether to stagger it, bring it down so that it's staggered on the bottom, and I've got that line lining up with the bottom of this piece here, and then bring that in there like that. And I'm liking that. Worried about this, it's too much up there. I can bring her over, which reduces that down. And I'm wondering whether I can make use of this in here as well. What I'm going to do is have a look behind here and see if there's any text or images, because if there aren't, then I can actually reduce that down a little bit, and I can get away with doing that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trim it down. I could fussy cut one of these and have it down there, and I am going to fussy cut that bird and have it up here. So I'm going to go away and do that now and come back to you when that's done. This little one was quite fiddly to cut out, but I've managed to do it. So I'm going to pop that one there, and I've also cut the bird out, as you can see from up here. So I've reinforced a little strip down the side there by taking it off this edge of the other half of that. And the reason I've done that is so that I can move this piece further across like that, so that I've got an edge of this down the side, and all I have to do is make sure that the top of that hole is covered up. And then the little bird that I cut out, you can see it there. I've just put it next to these orange flowers because it's a perfect match for the tail. Now I was going to have it in this area up here, but I've decided that it looks better where I've got it, so that is going to sit on there like that. This little piece here is obviously going to cover that up, but what I decided to do was make use of this form. I folded it, and I'm going to use just that little portion across the top there. I'm going to slide it behind here just to use up some of that background piece there a little bit more, and to add a little bit more interest on my collage. And then this little one on here, and obviously the whole thing wants to move down a little bit more because I haven't got an equal gap top and bottom there, so it probably wants to come down to about there. I'm just eyeballing everything at the moment. And then, as I say, this little one is going to just drop in there, and then I'm going to put my little bug down here so that I've got two things that make sound in a pattern. So that little bug is going to go down there, so I've got my bug straddling this picture and this one. And then the other thing I thought I might do is make use of this little portion. I'm just going to cut it after the word wild, and it did have I think it was Wildflower Ridge, that was the full name. But I thought that what I could do with this is make use of it somewhere on here. It would be nice to go up on there, but it doesn't look right. That is going to leave me with quite an area up there, but to be honest, I don't really mind. I think that colour looks lovely, and if I have that peeping out a little bit, that sort of uses up some of that background piece, as I've said. Maybe I could just use that one on there like that, or half and half. Yeah, I'm just going to go with that, everybody, and I'll be back when I've glued all this and we'll go through the prompts very quickly. There we go, everybody. That's my finished piece for this week. And just very quickly to go through the prompts with you, but I think you know what everything is. A place, well, I've gone for my Puglia in Italy, showing these little Trullis. Something that makes a sound in a pattern. I've got my bird up here and my cricket. A portion of a blank form. Well, I went with two, as you know. I went with this one, which was the customs label, and I also went with this faux one here, which was some sort of dietary form for a hospital. Someone else's handwriting, and again, I've gone with couple here. I went with the handwritten wine label, the portion that I had left over from last week. Or last week's assignment, and I also went with this piece. What else have we got? Something inspired by a fairy tale. Well, this beautiful girl here, or beautiful lady, I am inspired by her to think of her as some fairy tale princess or heroine, so I've chosen her. And oh, the bonus, random marks with paint or a pen. I haven't done that, and that's what I need to do. Oh gosh, now what am I going to do? I hadn't given that a thought. So, okay, I'm not going to do very much, just do some lines here. And hope they look like grasses. Gosh, really didn't think about that one, so hoping this is going to work. There we go. Maybe a few on this side. There we go. And those are my random marks. Oh dear, I've got a few lines here that were little vegetation pieces on the background, so I'm hoping that that is going to mimic what I've done in terms of my little random marks. So there, a few more there, and I'm calling it a day before I wreck this. Talk about impromptu. So there we go, everybody. That's my completed assignment for week 34. We really are marching on towards the end of this year and this particular challenge. Thoroughly enjoyed doing this one, although I wasted most of my afternoon, as I said, trying to come up with some prompt pieces, but I'm much happier with the pieces that I've chosen. So I'm going to finish there and do some close-up shots of this, so hopefully you can get to see what I've done in a bit more detail. Thank you as always, everybody, for watching. Really do appreciate your company, and fingers crossed, hope you'll join me for next week. So take care, everybody. Happy crafting. Bye bye now.